You weren't born insecure. That's not how this begins. You didn't come into this world doubting yourself. You weren't checking for mirrors. You weren't scanning the room for approval. You didn't hesitate before reaching out. You didn't second guess your own existence. You didn't came to this world worried about how you looked or what people thought or if you were good enough. You just existed. Loud, messy, bold, curious, wild, and free. That was your truth. That was your baseline. That was your default setting before life started pressing all these updates on you. Before the world tried to override the very essence of who you are. But then someone said something. Maybe they didn't even mean it in a cruel way. Maybe they didn't know how deep it would cut. Maybe it was just an offhand comment, but it stuck. They said your nose was too big, or your laugh was annoying, or your ideas were dumb, or your skin didn't match their standard, or you talked too much, or you didn't talk enough. And just like that, the seeds were planted. Tiny little doubts that started to grow roots inside your spirit. You didn't even notice it at first, but over time, it became a pattern. You started looking outside yourself for confirmation. You started asking for permission to be okay. You started comparing, shrinking, editing yourself to fit into places that didn't deserve you in the first place. And the worst part, you started believing it. You started echoing the same lies they told you, started repeating them in your own mind, in your own voice. That's the cruel trick of it all. After a while, it doesn't even take anyone else to make you feel small. You do it yourself. You carry their judgment around like it's your own truth, like it's a mirror, when really it's just a smushed window. You forgot who you were before the world told you who you used to be. You forgot how it felt to just exist without explanation. But I'm here to remind you, you weren't born like this. You weren't born scared. You weren't born quiet. You weren't born ashamed. That came later. That was taught. That was conditioned. That was the result of 1,000 little cuts that never got a chance to heal. But you don't have to carry that anymore. You don't have to keep wearing a mask just because it helped you survive. You can choose something different. You can peel it off slowly, painfully, bravely. You can come back to yourself because underneath all of that noise, you're still there. You're still whole. You're still worthy. You're still enough. You don't need to earn your worthiness. It was never something that could be earned. It's something you came into this world with, just like your heartbeat, just like your breath. It's yours. Always has been. The people who made you doubt yourself, they were dealing with their own pain, their own projections, their own limitations. Hurt people, hurt people. It's cliche because it's true. And while that doesn't excuse what they did, it does explain it. You see, someone taught them insecurity too. Someone taught them to hate themselves, and they passed it down like a virus, hoping it would make them feel better to spread it around. But it didn't. It just broke more people in the process. But it ends with you. You get to choose. You get to say, this cycle stops here. You get to say, I'm not shrinking anymore. You get to say, I'm not dimming my light just because it makes someone uncomfortable. You get to say, I'm not carrying others people pain on my back like it's mine to bear. You get to come home to yourself. You get to unlearn every lie that was forced on you. Every you're too much, every you're not enough, every you're not allowed to take up space. You'll get to question all of it. You get to ask, says who? You get to rewrite the narrative, not because you're broken and need fixing, but because you've always been whole. You just forgot. And I get it. Healing isn't pretty. It's not a straight line. It's not a clean process. It's messy. It's painful, terrifying, but it's also beautiful. Because every time you choose yourself, you reclaim peace of your soul. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you make space for what does. Every time you speak your truth, even with a shaking voice, you're planting roots deeper than the lies ever reached. You were taught insecurity, but you can teach yourself something new. You can teach yourself confidence, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet, grounded kind. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. The kind that knows your value isn't up for debate. You can teach yourself grace. You can teach yourself compassion. You can teach yourself that it's okay to take up space, to want more, to dream bigger, to walk away from people who don't honor your heart. You can learn how to be your own safe space. You can become the voice you needed to hear when you were younger. You can be gentle with yourself. You can hold your own hand. You can forgive yourself for not knowing better, for staying too long, for being too hard on yourself. You can start over every single day if you need to, because healing doesn't happen in one grand moment, it happens in 1,000 tiny ones. In that breath you take before answering the phone, in that pause before agreeing to something your soul doesn't want, in that quiet moment where you look in the mirror and choose to speak kindness instead of criticism. That's healing. That's reclamation. You weren't born insecure, and the truth is, you were never really insecure. You were conditioned to doubt your own beauty, your own intelligence, your own strength, because someone else couldn't see it. But just because they were blind doesn't mean you were invincible. You've always been radiant. You've always been powerful. You've always been enough. It's time to come back to that. You weren't born insecure. Someone taught you that. And when I say someone, I don't just mean a single person. It could have been many people or even the world at large. It's just not the words people said, but the things they didn't say, the love they didn't show, the acknowledgement they didn't give. Every time you were left on the outside, overlooked, or made to feel like your word wasn't as important as theirs, it all added to the pile of lies you started to believe about yourself. But that pile isn't permanent. That pile can be torn down, piece by piece, brick by brick, until all you're left with is the truth. You were born worthy. You were born loved. You were born enough. The world just forgot to remind you. But I'm here to remind you now. Every part of you is a gift. Your smile, your voice, your thoughts, your creativity, your kindness, all of it is a gift. And somewhere along the way, The world convinced you to shrink it, to hide it, to bury it, and only show the parts they approved of. But let me tell you something. There is no part of you that needs to be hidden. There's no part of you that is too much. Every single part of you is valid and worthy of space, of love, of respect. When you choose to heal, when you choose to break free from those false narratives, you start to embrace your own complexity, your own messiness, your own contradictions. You start to see that you don't have to be perfect to be whole. You don't have to be without flaws to be worthy of love. You don't have to change who you are to fit into someone else's mold. You are enough just as you are. So take a deep breath and remember, you were never born insecure. You were taught to be, but you can unlearn that. You can step into your own truth and live it every single day. You can choose to believe in your own word, not because anyone else says it so, but because you know it in your soul. It was always there. It will always be there, and you will always be enough.